You can study in the morning, you can study at night. You can study outside by a campfire light. You can study with the...
Earlier this week, I was looking for images to depict the 10 plagues for a Haggadah that I'm working on. Unfortunately, the pictures that I found were all cute and funny. It was the froggies hopping all around and the little finger puppets. What bothers me about this is that the plagues were devastating. The plagues from this week's Torah portion that came upon Egypt destroyed the land and the people. Hundreds, thousands of people died in the plagues. And yet somehow we've turned it into a cutesy song or cute pictures that we share around the table on Passover. How is it that we're okay with so many Egyptians dying? Surely many of those Egyptians weren't taskmasters. Surely most of them weren't Pharaoh himself. Surely some of them were innocent bystanders. How is it that we're okay with that? To be sure, there are pharaohs in our midst today. The pharaohs of the 21st century are extremists, political, religious extremists who enslave us to fear. The question is, how do we respond to that? What do we do with those pharaohs? Do we send plagues upon them? Are we able to distinguish the pharaohs from the Egyptians? Can we do better than our Torah portion? Can we do better than the plagues that fell upon Egypt? Can we punish those who are deserving of punishment, but spare those who are not? Is it possible that perhaps all of them are deserving of punishment? Is it possible for us to say that Islam as a religion, Muslims as a people, or for that matter, any group as a people, are collectively all responsible? All too often, it's the very fear that has enslaved us that causes us to react with plagues. We become so afraid of those who would do us harm. We become so afraid of those who hate us and who inflict violence upon us, that we feel that our only response can be to do the same, to inflict terrible plagues on them, and not just on them, but on anyone who associates with them, on anyone who is loosely connected to them, on anyone who shares some of their beliefs. I have to believe that in our day and age, we can punish those pharaohs and taskmasters who do evil, and we cannot punish those who by association are in the same family, are in the same community, who share the same faith. Bill Maher has been widely criticized for suggesting that when there are so many bad apples, you have to wonder if there isn't something wrong with the orchard. I think there is something wrong with the orchard. I think that in every faith, there is the possibility of extremism. We have it ourselves. We have had Jewish extremists. We have Jewish extremists who use Jewish texts, who use rabbinic writings, who use the Torah to defend the things that they do in the world that many would call evil. In any faith, in any community, you can take the foundations of your faith, the foundations of your identity, and you can bastardize them to become something ugly and enslaving. And so there is something wrong with the orchard. Every orchard. Our responsibility as 21st century Jews, as 21st century people, is to be able to open our eyes to look carefully at our texts, at our traditions, to challenge them when they need to be challenged, to not just accept, to not just close our eyes and have blind faith, but instead to stand up for not only what our texts teach us, but what we know to be right and righteous. I believe that behind every troubling text, there is an element of truth, an element of beauty to be found. And so even in the Quran, which some would say is a text that promotes violence, others would say it's a text that promotes peace, the Quran, like any other text, is a text that promotes what we want it to promote. The job of the Muslim world, the job of the Jewish world, the job of the Christian world, the job of us, our job, is to use these texts to mold them and to shape them to create the world that we want to live in. We have to have the courage to bring plagues down upon those who would do us harm. The pharaohs and the taskmasters of this world must understand that they will be punished, that we will not stand idly by. At the same time, we also have to have the courage to look at our own faith and to hold every community accountable to look at their faith and to find the truth and the beauty and the peace in their texts and traditions. It's those messages that need to ring most loudly from the mosques and the synagogues and the churches. Until we hear that sound, until we hear those voices loudly and clearly, as we've begun to hear this past week, until then, I fear that we will all be standing at the sea mourning the loss of collective life. The plagues of the Bible and the plagues of today are not silly games and songs. They demand our attention. They demand that we take this world seriously, we take its challenges seriously. They also demand that we remember that there is a promised land on the other side of the sea. With faith, with action, with honesty, and with a little time, we might just get there.
It's okay, as you will see, that we're bound to disagree. Don't have to see eye to eye to make the Torah come alive. Now that I've had my say, let's not waste the whole day.